Hello and welcome to Fully Expressed with me, Aisha Hilton. Today's podcast is called Becoming Apologetically Me and Reclaiming the Parts of Ourselves We've Learned to Hide. And I was initially going to call it Unapologetically Me, but I'm actually in the process of becoming that. It's not as easy as it sounds. So I wanted to start off with a poem, which is really forming the basis of a song that I'm going to share with you at the end of this episode. So I learned how to soften the edges of my truth, how to make myself smaller. I learned when to be quiet when I wanted to speak, how to make myself easy. But I've spent enough time trying to fit into somebody else's version of me. I'm unapologetically me, all of the fire, all of the feeling, all that I came here to be. I'm unapologetically me, taking up space, living out loud, finally setting myself free. No more sorry, no more hiding, no more asking who I should be. Unapologetically me. Now, I'm one of those people who cry in supermarkets if they're upset. I can't hold it in. I often have my sunglasses on and I need them because they're prescription. I need some sort of glasses. And then I'll have mascara running down my face, hopefully hiding behind the lenses of my glasses. And the amount I cry, I really should only wear waterproof mascara, but I don't like it as much as normal mascara. Anyway, I'll be in the supermarket and other inappropriate places and I'll overshare with people I barely know. I've told them things that were on the surface that I couldn't push down or hide. And sometimes I have a vulnerability hangover afterwards from sharing too much. And I'm not sure if you can relate to that, but where you've shared and then you're like, oh God, what did I do? You feel that hangover feeling emotionally. And in my family, I'm known as the emotional one. For my entire life, my emotions have lived close to my skin. They're not buried deep or they're not able to be pushed down. And I felt self-conscious about this growing up. And even now with my family, I joke that I'm the emotional one so that I can say it before they say it. And before they can say I'm too sensitive or too emotional. But interestingly, I'm also someone in the family who can rise up to the challenge, even with tears in my eyes, of dealing with difficult circumstances like death and funerals. So I'm the feeler and I feel lots of feelings and I feel them deeply and immediately, and I don't have the ability to hide or mask them. And I don't know why that is. I know that some people are really good at it and I'm just hopeless at it. And I've spent a lot of time doing this exhausting thing where I felt like I had to hide that huge part of me, that emotional part of me, even though I was really bad at it. So it was a fruitless task, really. And interestingly, this ties in with another part of me that I've had to try to minimize over the years. And it's strange because it sounds like a good problem to have. I learned early on to hide the things that I'm naturally good at and that come easily to me. An example of this is when I was in the final year of high school and I had glandular fever really bad and I was so unwell and I could barely get out of bed and I barely studied. And despite this, I still did really well. And I remember a friend of mine being so annoyed with me and pissed off because she'd worked really hard and studied heaps and her results came in below mine. And it was kind of difficult and awkward, and she was really affronted that I did better with no effort, right? Or very little effort. So instead of feeling proud of my results, I felt embarrassed, like I'd done something wrong by being good at it without all the struggle. And of course, I love learning, and I always have. I pick up new things quite quickly, and I love technology especially, and creating. And somewhere along the way, I got that message that having these gifts, because they do come easily, I have to apologize for them, play them down so that other people don't feel bad or inadequate. And I experienced this odd mixture of feeling too much and too capable. And when I look at these two things side by side, I can see they're the same sort of lesson that I experienced over and over again. And the message that I got from that lesson was make yourself smaller so if everyone else is more comfortable. Don't feel so much, don't shine so bright. And almost be apologetic for the space that you're taking up in the world. And I know now that I'm not the only one because this type of feeling and sentiment is everywhere right now. And I see so many midlife women writing about it on Substack. And They've been saying sorry when someone bumps into us, softening our opinions so it doesn't get people offended or get you cancelled. We over-explain and justify what we want and why we want it. And I noticed that at the start of the year, a lot of women chose the word unapologetic as their word of the year, as if we all sort of reached this same tipping point at the same time, the point where we're done shrinking, even if we're not quite sure how to stop that shrinking, like it's quite reflexive. And that brings me to a tool I fell in love with about 7 years ago from Brené Brown, and she calls them permission slips, and you may have heard of them. And the story of how she started is my favourite part. The morning she was going to meet Oprah for the first time, she was absolutely terrified, and she was in such a serious mood, and she was all in her head. And her daughter texted her to check that she had signed a permission slip for a school trip. And Brené was sitting on the edge of her bed, and she thought, I need one of those. I need a permission slip to stop being so serious and just enjoy this. So she wrote herself a note on a post-it, and it said, excuse me, permission to be excited and goofy and have fun. And that was the first of hundreds she went on to write. And the idea is simple and it works. You write yourself a permission slip for how you want to show up. Permission to take up space, permission not to be perfect, permission to feel, permission to want more. And it's a permission slip from you to you. You're the one granting permission to yourself. And while I love permission slips, and I did a course with Brené and Oprah online. Sorry for coughing, I've got the flu. So that's why this episode's a little bit late. But yeah, I did this course with a friend, and it was run by Oprah's platform and had Brené as the guest, and we created our own permission slips. And what arose from that just recently when I was thinking about it is, why the hell do we even need permission slips? Like, aren't we beyond that? But in some ways we're not. Like, I was like, why does a grown woman need to write herself a note giving herself permission to have fun or to rest or to want something or to be good at what she's good at? And I feel like, we handed over our authority subconsciously to somebody or the collective them out there. And we've been waiting ever since to be excused, like children putting up our hand in the classroom, hoping to be allowed to use the bathroom. And oddly, my son's school has banned toilet breaks during class time as kids were vaping in the loos. So we've discussed this permission to go to the loo thing quite a lot. And I think another issue that I'm seeing and experiencing is that many women in midlife were raised to be good girls and to put others first. And I mentioned in a previous episode, I was at a funeral of a wonderful young woman and a mother of 2 young boys, and the eulogies that were delivered were lovely, but they all said the same thing. She never said a bad word about anyone. She always put others first. She was the kindest person anyone ever knew. And I think this sort of summarizes what we've been made to feel that what it is to be a good woman, right? Someone who doesn't make trouble, who doesn't put their needs first, who doesn't make a fuss, isn't loud, isn't too big for her boots, as they say. And as with many things I'm sharing on Fully Expressed, it comes back to safety, I think, for many of us. And I have only come to realize just how much the need for safety affects us as women. Like, I think it's just the undercurrent of our whole lives. So from an early age, most of us learnt that being fully ourselves wasn't safe, that we might be judged or rejected or left out or brought down. So of course, our brain knew that it was what it was doing, and it subconsciously programmed us to make ourselves smaller to stay safe. Then as adults, we encountered the same lessons in workplaces, in marriages, in friendships. I know that I have. And a lot of the time I did it without realizing it, and you might have too. And if you listen to the witch wound episode, you may hear an echo here, and it comes back to the same thing, where it doesn't feel safe to be seen, and we learn to shrink. And at the time after I did the Brené Brown workshop with Oprah, I was thinking a lot about permission slips, and I wanted something tangible and beautiful that I could hold that would remind me to give myself permission. So I made a deck of permission slips and I sold them online, and there was like permission to have fun, to be more joyful, permission to do daggy dancing in my kitchen as is like no one's watching, permission to shine brightly, permission to stop hiding who I am. And since I made that deck and started actually living by it as much as I could, my life has changed for the better. But the part I love is not just what it did for me, it's what it did once it left my hands, and the life that deck had without me off doing its own thing on its own adventures. So one of my coaching clients who does Reiki healing started offering a card for people to take home after their session, and they would take one on the way out, and whatever they were meant to receive that day, they received. And people loved it so much she had to keep buying more packs. And one day I got an email from this lovely man in Newcastle, Australia. He'd been in a rehab hospital, and in one of his art therapy classes, they'd used my deck. He was so touched by the card he had received that when he got out, he went looking for the deck online and ordered his own set. To this day, I have no idea who that art therapist was, a person I'd never met, in a hospital I've never been to, in a different state from where I live, and they had put the cards in the hands of this man that I'll also never meet, at a moment where he seemed to really need it and really responded well to it, and it touched him deep enough for him to go and buy his own copy of the deck. And of course, I didn't know any of this was happening at the time. The deck took on a life of its own and went into places I'll never know. I have no idea. And that's the thing about our gifts. When we stop hiding them, they go out and reach people we'll never know about in ways we could never have planned, but only if we let them out in the first place. And this man in the hospital got the card because one day I gave myself permission to make the thing and put it out into the world with my name on it. And when I think back to that girl who learned to play down what came easily to her, I wish I could tell her this: your gifts aren't something you need to apologize for. They aren't taking away anything from anyone else. They're your gifts to use. And sometimes when you use them, they become something really special to someone else who needs them. And I could never have known, sitting here at my desk making that deck, where it would end up or who it might reach. I just had this drive to create it and put it out there. And I didn't know that then I would have a 6-year career after that in deck creation because people wanted to make their own. And when I look at the decks, I didn't really know what I was doing. It was my first iteration, and I know so much more about deck design now than I did at the time, but I still love that little deck. But on another note, I think it's actually quite sad that we need permission slips at all, that we have to formally write ourselves a note to be allowed to be who we really are. There's something in that which makes my heart ache for all of us, for every woman who has subconsciously had to make herself small to feel safe. And yet for now, I think we still might need permission slips because the conditioning is so real and it's so deep, and it doesn't go away just because we notice that we're doing it. So I think the permission slips are a way we can practice remembering that we were always allowed to do what we want, to be who we are. Well, maybe not as children, but now that we're adults, we get to choose and we are allowed to be ourselves. And this for me includes the parts of me that cries in the supermarket, whose feelings live close to the surface, who makes friends with random people while buying milk and eggs. And I still cry, and I still sometimes tell people more than I intended to, and I'm still very sensitive. But the difference is that now I'm not trying to make that part of myself wrong or feel bad about it. And I'm just owning that. And I'm like, okay, this is who I am, and I find that very freeing. And it really frees up a lot of energy to put into creative endeavors, because I'm not putting all that energy and time and effort into pushing those things away from me as if they're, the bad parts of me. And I also don't want to hide the things that I'm good at, and I don't want to hide the things I feel. They're both me. And maybe I'm too much for some people and too emotional, too capable, too sensitive, too something, whatever. But maybe too much is sometimes just what we call ourselves when who we are makes someone else uncomfortable. But we don't have to keep making ourselves smaller because of that. We don't have to live our lives with the focus of keeping everyone else comfortable. And we have the authority within us to be ourselves. So my question for you today, if you'd like it, is what would you give yourself permission to do or feel or want or be? And what is the permission slip you could write for that? So what would you give yourself permission to do or feel or want or be? And it can be something really simple, or it could be something, large scale. It could be just, I give myself permission to have fun or to have a nap because I'm tired. I'll be going to bed after I finish recording this because I've worked really hard this week and I've been struggling with this virus. Now, if this is stirred something in you, please come and join me on Substack if you're not listening to this on Substack and you're listening to it on another platform. My Substack is called Fully Express, the same name as this podcast, and it's where I keep writing through all of this week by week, vulnerabilities and all. I used to say warts and all, but then I kind of got grossed out by the warts idea, and I don't have any warts. And if you want to keep doing this work alongside other women, I'd love you to become a paid member of Fully Express. We gather each month to do a Q&A creators cuppa, and in that people can pick my brains about all things to do with publishing and deck design, book publishing, living a fully expressed life, any of that stuff. And if you become a free subscriber, you get access to our monthly future casting workshop, which is just a little gathering where we write our future, and it's a manifesting tool. I'm not doing a good job of explaining it today. Anyway, maybe you're too much for some people. So what? They're not your people, and that's okay. And we just need to be okay with other people not loving every aspect of ourselves, because we can love those parts of ourselves regardless of what anyone else thinks of them. Now, I'm going to finish this episode with a song that I wrote called Unapologetically Me. It is produced with AI. It's not me singing. And particularly today, you don't want to hear my singing voice with this cold or flu. And I hope that you can continue to become more unapologetically you. And here's to living fully expressed. Lots of love from me to you. I hope you enjoy this song.
I learned how to soften the edges of my truth, how to make myself smaller so there's more room for you. I learned when to be quiet when I wanted to speak, how to make myself easy when easy wasn't me. But I've spent enough time trying to fit into somebody else's version of this. I'm unapologetically me. All of the fire, all of the feeling, all that I came here to be. I'm unapologetically me, taking up space, living out loud, finally setting myself free. No more sorry, no more hiding, no more asking who I should be. I'm unapologetically me. I like what I like, I want what I want. I laugh too loud and sometimes I'm a lot. I've earned every line, I've changed my mind. I've loved and I've lost and I've lived this life. I don't